Hello guys, here with a new video for the channel. I hope you like it, and if you like it, don't forget to leave your powerful like Supreme God level, comment, and subscribe. Now without further ado, get comfortable. Let's begin. After the end of the Tournament of Power, all the universes were in a great peace. However, a new danger was approaching. That's right, this danger was only for the two most powerful warriors, for Son Goku of Universe 7, who was able to reach the Ultra Instinct, and Jiren, the mortal who overcame the power of his God Destroyer. In Universe 7, everyone was beerus, talking about everything that had happened in the Tournament of Power, and the amazing power that Son Goku possessed. Mr. Beerus, are you afraid of Mr. Goku? You being the most powerful Destroyer God. Of course I'm not afraid of Son Goku, but the capacity with which he advances is incredible. Even us gods who trained for millions of years can't advance with such ease. Don't worry, Mr. Beerus. After all, Mr. Goku has a kind heart, and will never be able to do something that will harm all the universes. But at that very moment, the most powerful beings of the realm of everything had appeared in front of both deities. That's right, both Zeno-sama, Daishenkin, together with her guardians, would stand in front of Whis and Beerus. Daishenkin-sama, Zeno-sama, it's a pleasure to have you in my humble planet. Tell me, what can I do for you? In the words of Whis, they're right. That saying Goku ends with the 12 universes are very unlikely, but... At that moment, Zeno-sama would begin to speak. We must end the lives of Son Goku of Universe 7 and Jiren of Universe 11. They're extremely dangerous subjects and we cannot allow them to remain alive. Beerus and Whis would be very surprised by the words of Zeno-sama. But isn't Goku his best friend? Why does he want to end his friend's life? Do we have two alternatives, or end the life of both subjects or seal them in the room of the fallen kings? It is said that being locked in the room of the fallen kings is much more suffering than death itself. But what is the reason for all this, Zeno-sama? You must not know it, but above us, there are also much more powerful beings that even if all the universes were united, we wouldn't be able to face them. That's right, an extremely powerful god that has observed the whole Tournament of Power and has given the order to finish with both subjects, or seal them in the dimension of the fallen kings. That's impossible, and being's much more powerful than the Zeno-sama. For that same reason, we must finish with both subjects, because if we reveal ourselves to that deity, he'll finish with all of us. At that place, the beings of the King of Everything would leave again to their palace, leaving both deities of the Universe 7 surprised. After only a couple of hours, Daishenkin had requested an emergency meeting with all the gods, who came quickly. When they arrived, they all bowed. Gods, you must be wondering the reason for the emergency meeting. I'll be very quick and precise. The reason is to hunt the mortals, Goku and Jiren. All the gods would be amazed to know that, thanks to them, they were able to return to life. Daishenkin-sama, what's the reason for this great news? A being much more powerful than us has observed both subjects, and it seems that both warriors are extremely dangerous for all universes. But Daishenkin-sama, both subjects have fought for their ideals. They are the only thing Goku wants is to become more powerful, and Jiren wants to revive his family. I agree with God Champa. Even though I'm not his guardian angel, my sister Vados has trained him in a great way to know about good and evil. This is not a request. It's an order. Both subjects must be annihilated or we'll all die without being able to do anything. All the gods were silent for a few minutes, however the god Beerus would take a step in front of everyone. I fear the power of my warrior, but I'll not be the one to lead him into a trap or betray him. You, Zeno-sama, can erase me if you wish, but I'll not participate in this. I never thought I would say the same thing, but don't count on me either. I won't betray Jiren. If that's what you both have decided, you'll be eliminated at this very moment. No, Dai. Just leave them on the verge of death, and at this very moment, teleport Goku and Jiren to a planet where they'll be able to defend themselves. Sir, wouldn't it be better to finish them off without them noticing us? Betraying my best friend feels like scum. At least let them defend themselves. Daishenkin would obey the king of everything he had ordered. At that moment of raising one of his arms, Jiren, who was meditating, would appear on a planet as well as Goku, who was training. Both subjects were surprised. Hey, what's happening? I was training. Something bad is about to happen. I could feel it in the air. Daishenkin would appear in front of the two guys. Goku Saiyan from Universe 7 and Jiren from Universe 11. Both of you will be eliminated when you break the rule of exceeding the power of a destroyer god. Goku would be very surprised by what Daishenkin said, but apparently there's such good warriors that even their gods refuse to participate in this hunt. At that moment, Beerus and Vermouth were on the ground very badly wounded and on the verge of death. At that moment that Goku would approach, Daishenkin would have turned them into ashes. Why are you doing this, Daishenkin-sama? Does my friend Zeno-sama know? Of course I know, Goku, but the decision has already been made. Gods, attack! All the remaining gods went to attack since they knew that if they refused, they would be annihilated quickly. Goku at that moment would pass to the Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken, increase 20 times, while Jiren would increase his power to the maximum. We're not going to die so easily. You must be able to defeat us. I won't let them finish me off without avenging my family first. Both subjects began to exchange blows with the gods. However, it was noticed that Goku was most injured. That's right, Goku was able to overcome the gods when he activated the Ultra Instinct with the Superior Saiyan Blue, but still no match for the gods. Son Goku, concentrate. You're capable of activating that state again, otherwise we'll die on this planet. Meanwhile, on planet Earth, Vegeta would feel the immense power of Goku. This isn't training. Kakarot's power is overflowing. He's about to die. Vegeta would summon Shenron at that moment. As Bulma had the 7 Dragon's Balls, he wasted no time in doing it. Tell me, what is your wish? I wish that you'd teleport me to where Kakarot's fighting. At that moment, Shenron's eyes would shine and Vegeta had disappeared from that place. When Vegeta arrived, he would observe Kakarot being tortured by some of the gods. While Jiren was only able to defend himself, Vegeta would remember the words of his master Whis and the god Beerus. Flashback. Vegeta, you possess a little bit of evil in your heart, but it will be impossible for you to achieve the Ultra Instinct. You will be able to achieve the Ultra Ego. The Ultra Ego is a state beyond a destructive god. You dominate the destructive energy in its totality. And flashback. Vegeta at that moment would enter a state of anger. Beginning to increase all his power, the gods would notice the sane Vegeta. At that moment, 2 of them would go to attack. However, the purple aura would drive them away. That's right, Vegeta was accessing his new transformation. After a great curtain of smoke, you could see the Prince of the Saiyans in his Ultra Ego transformation. This power is incredible. I can't believe it. I feel that I'm able to finish with any subject that's put in front of me. Finish with the life of that Saiyan in the same way. So I was right. It wasn't a training session. They really want to end the life of Kakarot and Jiren's insect. Vegeta at that instant, without wasting time, would launch a powerful attack towards Goku, which the gods would receive most of the damage to be holding it. Goku would fall to the ground badly wounded. Kakarot, it's not your time to take a break. So stand up like an honorable Saiyan that you are. 2 of the gods would go again against Son Goku. However, Goku at that moment was able to dodge both blows. That's right, Goku had accessed the perfect Ultra Instinct with which he began to end the lives of the gods. After approximately 45 minutes of battle, the only god that remained alive was Champa. But to everyone's surprise, Daishenkin would end his life with a lightning bolt. We don't need cowardly gods. We will call new gods, and they'll be more powerful. As they turn out to be a nuisance, they'll be condemned to the dimension of the fallen kings. Daishenkin at that moment would begin to approach the 2 subjects, but without wasting time. The 3 warriors attached and attacked, but in vain since the power Daishenkin surpassed them by dozens of times. Or is it better to end his life? Vegeta, realizing that Daishenkin had already invoked the portal of the dimension, thought quickly. That dimension's similar to the time room, so I'm 100% sure Kakarot's insect and Jiren would get out of that place. All the warriors would continue to give shrapnel of blows to Daishinkan, however they weren't able to give him a scratch. At that moment, Vegeta would communicate telepathically with Jiren. Jiren, go to the dimension that this guy says, because if he kills you, no one will be able to revive you. In that place, you have a better chance of living. Saying by the name of Vegeta, are you going to sacrifice yourself? Of course I am, Insect. If Kakarot falls at battlefield, no one will be able to stop these guys. At that moment, Jiren, with the help of his visual power, would create a great light, which would leave Daishinkan without vision for a few seconds. At that moment, Jiren would take Goku with his maximum power, entering that portal. When Daishinkan regained his sight, he'd observe how the Prince of the Saiyans was carrying a bestial power. I'll not die without scratching you. Let's see if you're able to withstand an explosion of all my power. Sorry, Bulma, Trunks, my little daughter. I hope to see you again soon. At that moment, a great explosion would be created in the entire planet where they were. The explosion was so devastating to be with Hakai energy that was even able to make Daishinkan bleed. That's right, at that moment, the last scream of the Prince of the Saiyans was able to be heard throughout the universe. The proud warrior who gave his life for his rival and a warrior of the Universe 11 had disappeared. At the moment of finishing the explosion, which would leave no trace of the Saiyan Prince, Daishinkan would appear with a few wounds, but nothing serious. So, both subjects have decided to enter the dimension of the Fallen Kings. That'll be much worse, since they have chosen death. At the moment, Daishinkan and both Zeno-samas would return to their palace. Meanwhile, in the dimension, both had arrived to a completely white place, very similar to the Room of Time. But the pressure that this place emanated was extremely incredible, being so much that even for Goku and Jiren it was very difficult to move. Why the hell did you do that, Vegeta? I swear I'll avenge your death. Those bastards will pay for it. Only if you can get out of this place, because the pressure of the powers that we're feeling are extremely terrifying. This is a good place to die, but it's also a perfect place to become warriors of great power. I agree with you, Goku. It's time for the most powerful mortals of the 12 universes to break through the barrier and ascend to the divine world. Goku and Jiren had arrived at the dimension to which Zeno-sama had sent them. That's right, both warriors had been sealed in the dimension of the Fallen Kings. In this dimension, they were sent to the kings of the whole that contained a power similar to a creator god, and they were also very bloodthirsty. Damn it! We haven't met any of the kings of the whole, but the pressure of this simple place crushes me. That doesn't matter. You're Goku. We must be able to resist and get out of this damn place. Because if we die here, the Vegeta Saiyan will have died in vain. We'll not allow that. We'll avenge Vegeta's death. Goku and Jiren at that moment, they were about to start fighting to increase their powers and make their bodies more resistant. A guy would appear in front of both of them, who were not able to see who it was since the speed of which he had arrived was incredible. What the hell was that? Was it a rock or a person? At that moment, a great curtain of fire spread all over the place. A female voice came from the fire. Well, well, what do we have here? Is this something you don't see every day? How interesting. Mortals that surpass the power of a destructive god are sealed in this place. Who are you? How do you have so much speed? Honey, I'm the one taking the questions here, not you. For that lack of respect, I'll make you suffer a little bit. Towa, in a matter of milliseconds, had given millions of hit to Jiren, who had not been able to see anything. He would only fall to the ground. Goku had been very surprised, and having activated the Ultra Instinct, he would throw himself against that woman. The demon named Towa would not move from the same place. She had only dodged each one of his blows. However, when she wanted to hit him, she would be a little surprised. When she realized that the guy had dodged her blow while Towa dodged each one of Son Goku's blows, she would start talking to him. So a mortal is capable of dominating the Ultra Institute to its maximum expression. This seems more and more interesting to me. But a candidate for the Queen of Everything is capable of this. Towa at that moment would increase her speed 500 times more, with which she was able to give Goku some blows. Superficially, they looked like normal blows, but they had stopped the flow of energy from all his veins. The fact that you have the Ultra Instinct doesn't make you untouchable.
I only need to overcome the reaction speed of your own body, and with that, it'll be much easier for me to finish you.
Jiren at that moment would be very difficult for him to stand up. I don't care if you're a candidate for the queen at all. We don't plan to die without taking revenge on those bastards. Jiren, in spite of being very hurt and on the verge of death, would launch again to an attack, being knocked out with a single blow. Goku at that moment on the ground and on the verge of death would be able to observe Vegeta.
I'm sorry, Vegeta. I won't be able to avenge you. I'm sorry, Saiyan Prince.
You don't have to worry, Kakarot. Today is not the day of your death. Towa was approaching both of them with the intention of absorbing all their powers. However, at that moment, a much more terrifying pressure would appear in front of them. That's right, leaving Goku out of combat. That's right, the pressure of a Saiyan that had surpassed the combat mode of a king was amazing. That's right, the Saiyan King had appeared in front of Towa, who would recognize him immediately.
Yamoshi-sama, what are you supposed to do in this place? You're an honorable warrior, and you never interfere in the territories of other kings.
You're right, Towa. How can I let you wipe out my offspring?
No matter who they are, the rules are clear, and they are for everyone. No matter who you are, so in the most polite way, I ask you to please leave. I don't want to fight.
So after thousands of years, you think you're powerful enough to fight me? Don't make me laugh. You're still a piece of trash compared to me. Towa angrily launched into an attack, managing to land a sneaky punch on Yamoshi's face.
How about that? I was so fast that he didn't even have time to react.
Towa's smile would be erased from her face as she observed how Yamoshi had not moved a single centimeter. That's right, Towa's powerful blow had not been able to move Yamoshi even a millimeter. In this instant, I'll make you remember the fear that you had on me millions of years ago. I hope you're prepared, Towa. Yamoshi at that moment would begin to increase his power. Even loud screams could be heard all around. Powerful Saiyan King Yamoshi was raising his battle level so high that he was able to make the dimension itself collapse. That's enough. If you can withstand fighting with my 25% power and you can withstand for 10 minutes, you can do whatever you want with these Saiyans.
Don't underestimate you bastard. Use all your power. I was a candidate for Queen of Everything, so I won't let you play with me.
Yamoshi at that moment would contact a powerful blow to her stomach, which was about to fall to the ground, but Yamoshi would hold her head. You're a candidate for Queen of Everything. I was the King of Everything, who was able to overcome the barrier between a king and a creator god. You know that I was feared, even by the highest level creator gods, so you have no chance against me. Yamoshi at that moment would charge a large sphere of energy, throwing it at Towa, which would quickly take distance and launch a beam of energy. The clash of both attacks was incredible, but the distance was noticeable, since Yamoshi was just playing with Towa. Just because I don't want to kill you, I'll let you attack me, as I'm aware that your attack won't be able to do anything to me. The powerful combined attack of your attack and Towa's attack would hit him directly.
That's what you get for underestimating me, you bastard! So die for being a miserable, disgusting insect!
Throughout the smoke screen, a laugh would ring out. Ha 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 ha! Did you think you could beat me because of your power? Remember that you're nothing compared to me. Yamoshi at that moment would give her a strong blow to her neck, leaving her out of combat. At that moment of approaching both subjects, he would realize that both possessed an impressive power, having the potential to overcome a king of all. However, he would realize that inside the body of Goku, a powerful compared to a king of all, with its maximum power, even the cursed techniques was not able to defeat him. That's right, the power that Goku hid was incredible. This Saiyan's very interesting. Trained properly, he'll be the one to destroy this whole dimension, which was created by the power of the four gods. Yamoshi would take both subjects, leaving his territory, because in spite of Yamoshi being the most powerful subject of that dimension, there were beings that if joined together were able to even put Yamoshi into great trouble. At that moment of arriving to the destination, Yamoshi would transmit them a little of his power. However, both warriors did not wake up, but Yamoshi, having much more experience than both, would know that both warriors were already completely healed. So Yamoshi would hit them with a bestial force in their stomachs, making them both wake up with a strong pain.
Ouch! What happened? Where are we? Are we dead?
I doubt that we're dead because the pressure still remains and that blow gave us was merciless. You're right, you're not dead. You're still sealed in the dimension of the fallen kings. To get out of this place, you must increase your power to the limit.
Are you a Saiyan? This is incredible! So, how did you end up in this place?
It's a long story and that's no time for that. So I hope you're ready, because from now on I'll personally train you.
I appreciate that you saved us, but the power you emanate's not that powerful. Even the woman from before surpasses you. Even I think I'm capable of defeating you. Yamoshi, without saying a word, was able to make Jiren feel agonizing pain.
You can't feel my pressure or presence because I don't want you to, but my power is much greater than the power of Towa that possesses.
Goku would be very surprised to know that such a powerful warrior would train them. Yamoshi would stop releasing all his pressure, making Jiren able to move again.
Now that you know how great my power is, I hope you don't trust me because I'll make you suffer like you had no idea. Attack! I'll not use my pressure.
Goku and Jiren went on the attack. Goku at that moment was able to access the Ultra Instinct again, starting to fight against Yamoshi. Meanwhile, outside of that dimension, Daishinkan had gathered the Super Dragon Balls, reviving all the Destroyer Gods, but this time with a small change. That's right, they had been revived with negative energy and hatred towards mortals.
Gods, you know what your mission is, to finish with every being that is a threat to our multiverse.
As you command, Daishinkan-sama, Zeno-sama.
All the gods would leave to their universes, beginning to finish with each warrior that they believed to be a danger. At that moment, a warrior of the race of Frieza would appear in front of all. At that moment of doing it, all the beings of the kingdom of the whole would make a bow.
Sir Ryui, what is the honor of having you in our multiverse?
I come to congratulate you since you have successfully sealed both subjects. With this we will return to be the best multiverse, and we will finish with all the beings that get in the way.
I'm very happy that we have done our job well.
Very soon I'll be able to regain my omnipotence and omnipresence to become a creator god again.
Any other requests you have, sir?
For now, there are none. Just keep everything under control, since the last creator gods are about to wake up. Try to keep everything going as it has been so far.
You don't have to worry about that, Ryui-sama. We'll do it perfectly.
I count on you, because if you fail, I myself will take care of finishing you simple worms.
A golden light would leave all over that multiverse. That's right, this guy named Ryui was responsible for sealing of both warriors.
My lord, Ryui's power is so great that even if we had revealed ourselves, he would have killed each one of us. I know, Dai, but I feel like scum for betraying my best friend, and even injecting negative energy into the spiritual sea of each destroyer god.
Returning to the dimension of the kings, both subjects were fighting with King Yamoshi. However, in that time they had been training, they were not able to give him any blow. That's right, Yamoshi's speed was much faster than both subjects.
That's all for today. If we want their power to increase, they must also have rest.
Meanwhile, with Towa, she had already recovered by returning to her territory. However, she was furious at being completely humiliated, but at that moment, a great energy would stand in front of her.
Do you want to have the necessary power to kill Yamoshi? Accept this power. You won't regret it.
I don't care what it is. I want to finish with that damned Yamoshi. I won't let him make fun of me. A great amount of energy would begin to enter Towa's body, which would begin to scream all over the place, since the power that it gave off was incredible. So much was the power that even her body would explode for some dozens of times. But the energy of before was in charge of restoring it. After hundreds of explosions, Towa would appear. This power is amazing. This is the power of a creator god. In a part of all that dimension, an extremely incredible power had appeared. However, in a few seconds it had disappeared again. That's right, the power of Towa had been felt by all the fallen kings, and it would call the attention of Yamoshi, who would change his expression to a very serious and cold one.
The power that was felt a few seconds ago was an incredible power. Even with my maximum power, I don't know if I could defeat that power.
Is something wrong? Your work has changed completely.
No, it's nothing to worry about. but you must become much more powerful. The power that you now possess is comparable to that of a guardian angel. That's not enough. We must break all our limits to be able to finish off all the bastards who made fun of us. At that moment in Goku's mind, he was able to observe Zeno-sama. That's right, out of the dimension, Zeno-sama had used some mental power to contact Goku. Friend Goku, I know you must hate me now, but you don't want anything to do with me, and you really had no choice. I feel like scum for doing this to you.
My friend Zeno! But tell me, what happened? Why did you do all this? What do you mean you had no choice?
Above us, there are the kings of everything who have been able to take their power to the limit. But even above them, there are the creator gods, which are also divided into scales of power.
Are you implying that a creator god has given the order to finish us off?
That's right. And if we refuse it, they would destroy all 12 universes. I'm so sorry, my friend. For that reason, I've decided to abandon 75% of all my power. Only you can finish with the new enemies that are approaching. Despite being in another dimension, a power would begin to enter all over Goku's body. That's right, Goku's power was growing rapidly. Even with Zeno-sama's power, Goku was able to access his Ozaru form without the need of his tail. But while he was in transition, his tail would appear. That's right, Goku was destroying everything around him. However, he was able to observe Zeno-sama in the middle of all his destruction. My friend Goku, I trust you with my power. I'm so sorry, you only deserve to be a king at all.
Goku in that instant would regain consciousness by accessing the Super Saiyan Phase 4, but his hair was an angelic silver color, leaving Yamoshi and Jiren surprised, since Son Goku's power had increased in an amazing way.
Goku's power has increased too much. I can't even calculate it. But with that power, he's capable of defeating a king in his fighting form.
Goku in that instant would throw a great sphere of energy towards Jiren. That's right, Zeno-sama, knowing that he was with Goku, had also sent some power to Jiren. Not as much as to Goku, but Jiren in the same way began to increase his power in such an incredible way that it would make everything around him tremble. That's right, the power that he was releasing was equally amazing. Unlike Goku, Jiren was not having any transformation in his body, was dominating all that power. However, he was becoming much slower because of the excess energy.
The power is incredible, but I feel as heavy as a planet, and since I don't have the ability to transform, it's much more difficult. You don't have to worry about that, since that's what I'm training them for. I don't know where they got so much power from, but it's time to start training beyond a king at all.
The three subjects began to have a great battle, which was capable of shaking some territories of the other kings. Meanwhile, with Toa, she was training in the same way to be able to dominate all the power of that energy. This power is incredible! So this is the power of a creator god. I'll finish with those damn trash.
You're not ready yet. Believe it or not, the being that killed my body was that damned Yamoshi. He's not lying when he said that he had all the creator gods were afraid of his power.
Is his power even capable of killing a creator god?
That's right. The power of that Saiyan is difficult to understand, despite fighting for hours, days, weeks. His power, instead of decreasing, increased as the battle went on.
This time it'll be very different. I'll do it for you, Master, and also out of pride. I'll not forgive you for the beating you gave me last time.
If you really want to do it, you must take your body to the limit, because with the power you have now, Yamoshi is still able to finish you without any effort.
Toa at that moment would continue training, knowing that he still lacked the power to be able to make the Saiyan King bite the ground. Returning to the trio of subjects, Goku and Jiren with their new power, they were already able to face Yamoshi. That's right, Yamoshi, despite using his maximum power at his base state, was difficult keeping up with the both of them. What's wrong? Is all that power of a Saiyan King? Jiren would be a little surprised by Goku's words because even though he had increased his power too much, there was still no match for Yamoshi in one-to-one combat.
I can see by possessing all that beastly power, you think you could defeat me, but let's see what you think of this.
Yamoshi at that moment would begin to increase his power in an incredible way, making everything around him tremble. Yamoshi's power was even perceived by the other fallen kings. The moment Yamoshi was accessing 50% of his glorious power, that's right, at that instant Yamoshi's hair would turn a silver color, as well as his eyes, which would leave Goku and Jiren surprised to realize that Yamoshi had access to Ultra Instinct.
You should feel lucky, since I was the one who created the Ultra Instinct. In short, my Ultra Instinct is the original one.
Goku would be very surprised to hear what Yamoshi said. Goku and Jiren, without caring about what Yamoshi said, would throw themselves against him. But this time, the difference in their powers was as big as the sky and the earth. That's right, Goku and Jiren, despite having all that great power, this time were not able to do what Yamoshi said. This time, they were not able to make a scratch on Yamoshi, who, after a few hits, would leave them wounded on the ground. Goku, despite having the Ultra Instinct in his transformation from Super Saiyan Phase 4, was not able to dodge all of the blows of Yamoshi.
That's all for today. Your powers are growing exponentially fast, so you should take a break and get your energy up.
Goku and Jiren would begin to rest that day. Meanwhile, outside that dimension, Ryui was very desperate because for a being that was lost omnipotence, it was worse than losing their life.
Damn it! If I'm not able to do something, I'll be left without my omnipotence. I have to hurry up on this. I think it's time to absorb all those damned ones.
Meanwhile, with Zeno-sama, he was very worried because he had a bad feeling about Ryui.
Die. I want you to store 90% of your power in that sphere of divine energy.
But sir,
If I do that, I won't have enough power to be able to defend us. Even if you have 100% of your power, you'll never be able to confront Ryui. Trust me, Daishinken.
Alright, my lord. Whatever you say.
At that moment, Daishinken would begin to empty all his veins of energy, passing 90% of all his power to the sphere that the king had told him. After only 10 minutes of having finished, Ryui would appear in the Kingdom of the Whole.
Ryui-sama, what's the reason for your visit in the multiverse? They have excellent subordinates, but now that they have finished with that plague, they're no longer useful to me. I'll keep their powers.
Ryui would throw himself against Daishinken, starting a battle, which clearly showed who had the advantage. At the moment, both Guardians would launch an attack, and both Zeno-samas, with the power they had left, would merge in access to their form of combat. All were fighting against a single subject, but the result would be the same. So it is, from one moment to another, Ryui would begin to give some great blows to each one of those present, leaving them on the verge of death.
Before they die, I want to keep all their powers. I'll create the world that everyone wants. I'll finish with the creator gods and I'll access the Sheikah galaxy, place of the true gods, and not beings like you.
Ryui at that moment would begin to absorb the power of each one of those present. Nevertheless, while Ryui absorbed Zeno-sama, Daishinken would communicate with all the gods telepathically.
Gods, I know at this moment all you possess in negative energy, but you must trust us. Abandon all your power and explode, because if you don't, Ryu will kill you and end your power.
And Father, will we do the same, or is our destroyer gods?
All of you, create energy spheres with a meeting point in the realm of all. My energy being more powerful than yours will absorb it and search for a worthy warrior.
Understood, Father. In this instant, we'll do it. Ryuji at that moment had finished the life of Zeno-sama, and his guardians at the moment of heading towards Daishinken was also filling all his spiritual sea, thanks to the power of Daishinken. However, before Daishinken remained, if his vital energy would curse him and affirm that an extremely powerful subject would avenge them.
Ha ha ha! No one has enough power to face me. Now it's time to absorb all the gods and angels.
The moment Ryui began to move all through the universes, every god would begin to explode. That's right, the gods had fulfilled Daishinken's last order.
Damned priest, they don't believe that because you don't have the power of simple gods and angels you'll be able to defeat me. There are more multiverses and temporal lines.
Ryui, furious, would rise to the top of that multiverse, creating a great attack, which would have enough power to erase all the multiverse of Zeno-sama. That's right, a gigantic megaversal explosion was able to be appreciated by all the other kings of the whole.
After millions of years, a megaversal explosion has happened again. Who was the guy that had enough power to blow up the entire multiverse?
The annihilation of a multiverse? Has a creator god awakened? The other kings would not give any comment on the matter. Meanwhile, returning to the dimension, Goku, who was meditating at that moment, would fall to the ground to his base state. That's right, he felt like an incredible power was crushing him, and he was right. The power of the High Priest, the 12 angels, and the 12 gods was entering his body.
Yamoshi at that instant would quickly approach Goku, but Goku's body began to expel rays of energy, and at that very moment began to expel an extremely impressive power, leaving all the fallen kings surprised, which would be surprised by the power they felt. What's happening, Goku? It is the power beyond a king, but it's too early. Goku would continue to increase his power like never before, accessing the Ultra Institute again, but this time his power was so much that it would make even Yamoshi tremble. Goku's body was releasing an incredible power, so much that even the dimension of the fallen kings was shaking like never before. At that moment, Yamoshi would increase his power to the maximum, accessing the legendary transformation, which was capable of supporting all his bestial power. Yamoshi at that moment would throw himself against Goku, hugging him tightly. Goku, Goku, Goku! React! Don't keep raising your power like that, because if you continue, your body won't be able to support it, and it'll explode, so stop it! Goku, without listening to everything that Yamoshi would say, he would continue raising all his power. That's right, Goku was in a trance mode which was not able to react. Yamoshi, at that moment, would give him a blow with all his power, but to his surprise, Goku would be able to stop his blow with only one of his hands and without any effort.
Don't think that you're talking to an amateur. I know the capacity in my body, and it's capable of withstanding this and much more.
Have you come to your senses, Goku? Then stop it! Even those amounts of energy are staggering to me, and I wouldn't control them without paying a high price. Goku, unheeding, would continue to accumulate all his power until a huge explosion could be seen in Goku's body, which was still in the Ultra Instinct. But something to differentiate was the incredible pressure that emanated from it. That's right, Goku had been able to control the power of both Zeno-samas, Daishinken, and all the other deities of the universe. However, all the power he possessed was not only for Goku, since at that moment all the power of the Destroyer Gods would enter Jiren, beginning in the same way to increase his power in an amazing way, not as much as Goku's, but his power had shot up. That is, he would be compared to the Jiren of some days ago, and with Jiren that absorbed the power of all the gods, the current Jiren would fight with 3 Daishinkens and defeat them without any difficulty. That is, in the same way his power had reached a level that hardly a mortal or even a god could be able to reach.
Mortal of Universe 11, it was never our intention to finish with you, but they were orders from above, and that same guy finished with us, so all the gods trust you with our power.
I trust you, Jiren. Prove that you're the being that goes beyond a god destroyer. Jiren at that moment would create a great explosion all over the place, destroying everything in its path. That's right, it'd be much more complicated for Jiren to dominate all the power of the 12 gods, but he would succeed. After such an incredible explosion, Jiren could be observed, which was now able to use the destructive energy, protruding from his body the signs of a super god destroyer. That's right, Jiren was able to surpass a normal god destroyer. His power is incredible, and he'll be able to possess the power to finish with the cursed one who's sent for our heads. We possess all the power of the 12 universes. That's right, Jiren. No matter who our enemy is, he won't be able to defeat us. Meanwhile, with Towa, she had already mastered all the power that this energy had given her. However, the energy at that moment materialized, giving the silhouette of a man.
Towa, now you must train more than ever, since the power that both subjects have attained is compared to a creator god of the lowest level.
How is it possible that those 2 mere mortals have attained the power of a creator god? This has to be a bloody nightmare.
Although it may seem like a nightmare, it is reality. The power of these 2 guys would even be able to give me a few scratches.
Master, are you still able to defeat them?
Of course I am. They are at the beginning of a creative power, compared to me, who has been in the creative world for millions of years. It would not be so difficult to finish them both.
It would be better to finish with them right now, because if we let them increase their power, they will be much more dangerous.
You are right, Towa, but you will have to do it yourself, because if the other creator gods feel my power,
They will finish me quickly, and I don't want to attract their attention.
Why do you say that, Master? Can't you finish them with your base power?
Indeed, Toa. With my base power, it would be too complicated for me, and if I release a little of my creative essence, I will be able to call the attention of the other beings.
I understand, Master. Don't worry, I will finish with both subjects.
I have entrusted you with a part of my power. By not reaching the creative ground, your essence is null, so you can use all that power that I have entrusted you, but do not trust, because the power is great.
Returning to both warriors, both would begin to meditate because despite not causing damage with their powers, they felt the body extremely heavy. So it is, and this in the battle would be a great disadvantage. So both decided to meditate to regain their speed and even increase it. Meanwhile, out of the dimension, Zeno-sama's multiverse was in a complete chaos because there was no divine being to govern it correctly. That's right, after only 1 week after all the divine beings had died at the hands of Ryui, Zeno-sama's multiverse would explode, leaving no one alive. At that moment, Mikoshin would realize the annihilation of the entire multiverse.
This is bad. If a multiverse has fallen, this can happen to any other multiverse. If it'll be better to inform the Queen of Fire, since she's the most powerful among all the kings of everything.
Mikoshin at that moment would begin to fly through all the multiverses, and being a queen of everything, she would have enough power to cross the dimensional barriers without any difficulty. Meanwhile, in a very distant place, we can observe Ryui, who is sitting on his throne with a serious look since he was very thoughtful.
Damn it! If I had absorbed the power of all those gods, my power would have risen much higher. But they were able to discover my intentions.
At that moment, Ryui was able to perceive how the queen of the whole Mikoshin was heading towards another multiverse.
Apparently, with the explosion of Zeno-sama's multiverse alerting the mighty Mikoshin, she apparently plans to ally herself with the realm of relentless fire.
Meanwhile, returning to the two mortals who had overcome the power beyond the power of a king, they had already mastered all their power, since in that dimension, time passed in a very different way from the dimension from which they came. That is, that dimension they had already spent approximately 10 years, while outside the dimension, only 5 days had passed. In that moment, both warriors would stand up, starting to collapse the whole dimension. That is, in that same instant, hundreds of planets, galaxies would be created and at the same time destroyed each other. Although both controlled their power, it was almost impossible for them to repress it completely.
This is incredible. The power of both of them has risen in an incredible way. I don't think I'll be able to defeat them both at the same time.
Yamoshi, we're ready to leave this miserable place. We're counting on you to return to the real world.
At that moment, two more warriors would appear in front of everyone.
Damn it. I knew you guys were watching us somehow. You better leave or I'll kill each one of you right now.
The two warriors that appeared were also kings of great power that had been sealed in that place hundreds of years ago.
You must not boast a power which we all have long since surpassed. You were the most powerful fallen king of all, but now your power is diminished in a great way.
That's right. You don't have the overwhelming power of before. Or maybe we only have become more powerful. I hope you're prepared for the day of your death.
Yamoshi at that moment would increase his power, however Goku and Jiren would stand in front of Yamoshi.
This'll be excellent to test our new powers, so you don't have to worry. That's right, we're now the most powerful than you, Yamoshi, and it's our turn to protect you.
No, they're not normal warriors that you can face. They have millions of years of more experience than you.
Too late. We'll knock them unconscious and finish you off. Then we'll force them to form the portal to get out of this miserable place.
That's right. Both guys have the energy of a creator god in their veins, but their power's too weak. But with that little amount is enough to get out of this place.
Goku and Jiren at that moment would observe each other and giving a big smile, both would disappear at lightning speed. That's right, at that very moment, two great battles never before felt in the whole dimension of the kings was developing. At one point, Goku was able to give a sneaky blow to Yakuwa, who would fall to the ground, but the power was so much that it would have been dragged a few meters. At that moment, Yakuwa, furious at the same way, would recover from such a furtive blow, being able to give a great blow to the Saiyan. However, at that time, which of Goku had disappeared again. That's right, the speed that Goku possessed at this moment was incredible. Meanwhile, with Ryota and Jiren, both were very even. Well, that was what Ryota believed, since from one moment to another, Jiren would attack, increasing his power, and would create a great fire attack. However, this attack was different since the power of fire was unreal. Besides mixing the particles in his ki, thus creating divine fire. Great flames of fire would be seen to be all over the place. Ryota at that moment would increase his power to the maximum to create a barrier with all his ki. However, the power of fire was so much that it even cracked the barrier of a Super King altogether.
What the hell's going on? How could this bastard who barely surpassed king level have all this power?
I thought you'd be a great challenge, but you don't have the power to make me fight for real.
I only need 34% of all my power. Don't say stupid things, and I swear I'll end your pathetic life.
Ryota at that instant would take his energy to the limit. So much was his increase that even his body began to pay the consequences of accessing a power which he didn't fully master.
Bloody Spirit Mar! Divine Soul of the King, massacre!
At that moment, inside Ryota's body, all his ki veins began to pass much more power. Even the base of all of the ki began to go so crazy that such a power Ryota was increasing, Jiren would begin to observe how Ryota's body was expelling large amounts of blood.
With the activation of that technique, you have sealed your fate. You won't be able to endure it for long.
Meanwhile, with Goku's battle, he had also forced Yakuwa to use the King's Divine Soul, which at that moment was also increasing his power in a very amazing way. At the end, you can observe both warriors who apparently had not changed at all, but at the moment of walking towards them, their footsteps were sinking in the ground, demonstrating the weight of their whole body. At that moment, Ryota, in spite of all the heavenly power that he possessed, would move at a great speed, giving him a great blow to Jiren. But great was his surprise when Jiren had been able to dodge it.
I hope you're prepared, simple mortal, and I'll end your pathetic life. I'm not interested in being locked up for the rest of my life.
I want to see if you have the power to back up your words.
Goku at that moment would stare at Yakuya, who, undeterred by the cold presence of the Saiyan, would launch an attack. That's right, however the result would still be the same.
This is something that if I wasn't seeing it from my own eyes, I wouldn't believe it. Two warriors who have just been promoted to king level are able to face two experts.
The battle of the four warriors were in a great destructive point where everything around them was involved in lightning, fire, and even tidal waves. However, after only 10 minutes of battle, the body of both kings was reaching its limit. That is, they were not able to keep up with both warriors, as all their energy as the battle progressed was decreasing contrary to the energy of both warriors, which at every moment of the battle was increasing. That's right, what both warriors needed was to have much more experience in the territory of a king. So facing two subjects which surpassed that power was perfect for them. After 7 more minutes of battle, the body of both gods would expel a large amount of blood. That's right, their bodies could no longer withstand the power beyond the king's. At the time of deactivating their techniques, their power would drop in an amazing way. That's right, the power beyond a king had left their bodies with no energy at all.
Well, well, what a miserable fate. Without the need for us to end their lives, they'll die, since all their energy veins are totally destroyed.
So, bloody spiritual sea. What a striking name. Now, die in their blood, simple cowardly kings who don't have the power to back up their words.
At the moment both subjects to move away, Yamoshi would throw them a great energy sphere, finishing with the life of both kings. That's right, since in that state it was preferable to death.
You have achieved great power, but you must not lose your humanity, because if you lose that, you'll lose everything.
However, at that precise moment, a gigantic power would be felt all over the place. That's right, the power of a true king was causing havoc in the whole dimension. Even a powerful aura would rise into the sky. Planets, galaxies, and dimensions themselves were cracking from the power that would be perceived.
This power is incredible. I never knew of the existence of a fallen king with such power.
At that moment, even Jiren and Goku were astonished. A great shadow would move at the speed of lightning. But unlike Goku and Jiren, a blood-red lightning could be seen. At that moment, that powerful lightning had been able to send Yamoshi to fly far from that place, and at that moment, a woman would appear in front of everyone.
Who are you? And how is it possible for you to master all that power?
Your ki is extremely great, but I feel like I know you from somewhere. Now you will be my food. Not even the legendary King Yamoshi has the power to face me. I currently possess the power of a creator god. Yamoshi, upon receiving such a furtive blow, would return quickly, realizing the power of that powerful queen. That's right, Yamoshi was the only one who quickly knew who it was, since both had fought for dozens of times.
I can't believe the way you look now, Toa. You used to be the most beautiful queen of all.
That's what you forced me to do, after interfering in my hunt for those bastards.
You understand that I couldn't let you absorb warriors of my own race.
Don't worry, since in this place, and now I will absorb them all to go to the other world and be reunited with their pathetic race.
Toa at that moment would pounce against the three warriors, who would quickly get on guard. However, the power that Toa had achieved was extremely incredible, being able to grant excellent blows to each one of the warriors. But he had not finished his attack since that moment, he would launch a great fire attack, similar to the one that Jiren used before.
That bitch was watching the battle all the time, so long that she was even able to create a technique similar to mine. Your blows have been able to cause me some damage. I hope you're prepared. As well as you, we'll have to increase our power.
Goku, Jiren, and Yamoshi, who at that moment began to raise their power in an incredible way, making the whole dimension rumble. So much was their power that they even released the dimension began to crack little by little. Even their ki was filtering through the cracks that were being created. Meanwhile, outside the dimension, the powerful Ryui would feel that power, which, despite being very minimal, would make him shudder.
What is this power? It's almost null, but in spite of that, it's still able to cause me incredible fear.
At that moment, when Mikoshin was about to arrive at the realm of the Queen of Fire, a sensation of death was able to be felt in the whole space. However, she wasn't able to feel the power since she was far away from Zeno-sama's multiverse.
What is the sensation of death I feel? Something very bad is about to happen, so I must warn all the other kings urgently.
Returning to the battlefield, the four warriors were having a great battle. However, every moment that the battle progressed, Toa's power, instead of decreasing, was increasing in a great way.
Toa, don't be confident. Despite possessing my seemingly unlimited energy reserves, everything has an end. So don't overdo it and save ki.
As you command, sir. I promise I'll bring it back to life.
I trust you, Toa. I have given you a great part of my spiritual power, so that you'll be able to defeat the three pillars of this world.
Toa would continue with her great battle, but at that moment, Goku and Jiren would increase their power even more, putting to her in serious trouble.
You two entertain her. By using my Ultra Instinct, I don't have the unlimited reserves that I have in my legendary transformation. We'll risk everything in this battle.
Goku and Jiren at that moment were pushing their bodies to their limits. That's right, with the power, they were able to force Toa to take them seriously, since the damage he was receiving was great. Damn mortals, with a little bit of power, I swear that today will be their death. Toa at that moment would throw a great sphere of destructive energy, with which he had planned to finish the both warriors. But great was his surprise when he realized how his power was being retained. That's right, Goku and Jiren had created a great attack, which had the same power of Toa's power.
Hurry up, Yamoshi! We can't take it anymore!
At that moment, both attacks would explode, starting to exchange blows again. Meanwhile, with Mikoshin, they had already arrived with the Queen of Fire named Miyuki. At that moment, a beautiful woman would come out of her castle. Mikoshin, so many hundreds of years without seeing you. Tell me, what brings you to my multiverse? Haven't you felt all the power that overflows through all the megaverses? I had forgotten how paranoid you are. Yes, I have felt these powers, but they're not something that interests me, since they are still very far from my power, if I wanted to finish them with just one of my hands. We can't be confident, because from what I understand, a new creator god's about to appear, but this time he would bring destruction to everything created by the authentic creator god. That's just nonsense. A new creator god cannot be born. Nevertheless, at that moment in all the multiverses, four extremely amazing powers began to be felt. So much was the power that, in this occasion, all the universes, galaxies, spaces, and planets of each one of the multiverses were being destroyed, due to such an abysmal power. At that moment in the distance, a great light of red color could be observed. That's right, the battle of all the warriors had been so devastating that it had been able to even cross the dimensions. The moment that the three warriors would leave the dimension, they were able to observe how Toa didn't leave that place.
Toa, do not leave this dimension. Don't worry if the portal closes. I will, with my power, be able to get you out. But if you leave now, the other creator gods will feel your power and finish you.
I understand, Master. For this occasion, they have been saved, but the next time that I see them, it'll be very different.
At that moment, Toa would return to the dimension of the fallen kings. While Goku, Jiren, and Yamoshi were in terrible condition, at that moment from Goku's body would come out a small energy belonging to Daishinken.
Lord Goku of Universe 7 and Jiren of Universe 11. We're sorry for the decision that we took, but all of us were forced to follow the orders of the semi-god creator Ryui. But we knew that it would be able to leave, so I have left this place so that you're able to take refuge in case of emergency.
At that moment, Zeno-sama's castle would appear again. That's right, with Daishinken's little power, he'd been able to create the castle again.
With my spiritual energy has completely worn out, I wish you luck.
At that moment, Yamoshi, who was the least injured, would take both warriors and begin to fly quickly through the universe to be able to reach the castle of Zeno-sama. At that moment, everything would return to normal.
This is what I meant, Miyuki. Powers that even surpass the normal level of a king are appearing. This is not normal.
Miyuki, a little surprised by all the chaos that the four powers had caused, she would agree with Mikoshin.
I understand, Mikoshin. Don't worry, I will give maximum alert, and every king of everything must be prepared. Count on it. Thank you for understanding. We must defend the legacy of the Creator King.
Meanwhile, in a very distant place, Ryui was also surprised by the power that was felt.
That power was amazing. I can't believe it. But it won't be enough when I ascend to the Creator rank. But I must do it quickly.
Ryui at that moment would enter a room which seemed to be a paradise. But in this place, he had planned to recover all his power lost millions of years ago.
The sanctuary was built by a creator goddess, so the vital energy is amazing. I'll be able to recover in a few months and finish with the owners of these powers.
Returning with Yamoshi after a few hours, he would arrive at the Kingdom of the Whole. At the moment of arriving, he would not be able to let him to any of the rooms, since in that same place, Yamoshi had also fallen out of combat. That's right, the wounds in his body were also serious wounds. Meanwhile, in the Dimension of the Kings, Toa was furious, knowing that she wasn't able to finish with the guys who had humiliated her.
Toa, you mustn't worry. Remember that revenge must be planned months or even years in advance, or else something will go wrong.
Master, I understand, but I can't forgive myself for not being able to annihilate them.
Next time we'll finish each one of them. Don't forget that to run you must first learn to walk. So let's take it step by step.
Meanwhile, with Mikoshin, she headed towards her multiverse, but at that moment, she would feel vital energy in Zeno-sama's multiverse, heading quickly to the place, observing her castle.
That's impossible. If her entire multiverse was destroyed, her castle must have been destroyed as well.
Mikoshin would approach, and when he was about to enter the castle, a great power would not allow him to do so. An incredible power had blocked the path of the mighty Mikoshin-sama, who was very surprised.
What the hell's going on? Me being a super queen at all, this wretched barrier won't be able to stop me.
Mikoshin would increase a great part of her power, starting to form a great attack with the intention of finishing with everything around her. The powerful attack of Mikoshin had rounded throughout the universe. That's right, the great explosion was seen by all the other multiverses. Even Ryui had noticed such power.
This is the power of Mikoshin, but a gigantic power is beside it.
Ryui was the only one to feel this power because his power was also reaching omnipotence, and as Goku possessed the energy of the First Saiyan God, even all his energy veins were evolving to an amazing level. Not reaching the level of the Creator God, but he was able to fight on par with them.
What the hell? I attacked you with all my power.
At the beginning, the gigantic Ozaru would form in front of Mikoshin.
What do you want in this place? Do you want to die?
At that moment, the Ozaru had spoken. Even with the words alone, a pressure and authority was felt through the multiverse of Zeno-sama.
What the hell are you? I'm not able to calculate the limit of your power. This is amazing.
I am the beast that does not belong to this divine rank. My power even exceeds the power of a creator god, but I don't have his divinity.
I don't understand who the hell you are, but I need to know if the beings that are in the palace of the King of Everything are a threat or not.
Rest assured, they're no threat. They're in charge of protecting this multiverse.
If what you told me is true, then let me help them, since their energy is fading by the minute.
I'll let you enter, but if you see anything suspicious, I will not hesitate to finish you off.
At that moment, a big door would form in front of the powerful Mikoshin. At that moment, Mikoshin would enter. She would observe Goku, Jiren, and Yamoshi in terrible conditions. Mikoshin, with her priestess power, would achieve that the trio of warriors would recover quickly. At that moment, the first to wake would be Yamoshi, who would recognize her quickly since millions of years ago both had great battles.
Thank you very much for your help, Mikoshin. You saved our lives.
Don't worry, but tell me, who was the warrior that left them in this terrible condition? I'm surprised that you, the king of the most powerful everything, has been defeated.
Yamoshi at that moment would begin to explain everything that happened, up to the point in which Towa possessed a power that even surpassed his power, which would leave Mikoshin very astonished, who knew that Towa, in spite of being a queen of everything, her power did not compare with the power of a super king of everything. However, in that same moment, an extremely amazing power would arrive to where everyone was, and it was Ryui.
Well, I destroyed this whole place. Are you the ones in charge of repairing everything? Although it's not something I care about. The only thing I want is to keep all of your powers.
Ryui at that moment would launch a great beam of energy towards Mikoshin with the intention of stealing large parts of her energy. However, Yamoshi would stand in front of that great attack, pulverizing with that aura.
Who the hell are you? How are you able to eliminate my attacks?
That's of no importance to you, but I can feel that you have absorbed my power of hundreds of living beings. So now, I'll finish you off.
Don't make me laugh, simple mortal. You have a great power, but compared to me, you're nothing. I'm about to rise to the rank of omnipotent.
So you're a fallen god, because I'm the legendary Yamoshi, the being that gave battle to the gods.
Ryui, without any importance to Yamoshi's words, would launch himself in the attack. However, at that moment, an amazing aura would send him to fly hundreds of kilometers because Yamoshi was increasing his power to the max. That's right, Yamoshi had access to legendary Super Saiyan, but the time of power was brutal. After a great explosion, Yamoshi would be seen in his combat form. Without losing a second, he would launch himself against Ryui, which at that moment had begun with an amazing battle, destroying territories even of the other kings of the whole. After only 3 minutes of battle, 2 of the 4 kings of the whole had died in the crossfire. That's right, their power was so much that the beings were not on the same level of battle, were pulverized only with the collision of their fists. Mikoshin would try to keep up with the battle, but it was impossible since his speed even exceeded the power of the gifted angel Mikoshin. At that moment, Goku had awakened in the same way, but there was something different in this one. The silver-colored fur of the Ultra Instinct had disappeared, having the red fur characteristic of the Super Saiyan 4. However, the power that it gave off even surpassed the power it possessed before.
My head hurts, but this power is incredible. Apparently, Yamoshi's facing an extremely amazing being.
No, what? Not you have awakened. Can you tell me who you are?
Goku in the same way would explain everything that happened since Ryui sent them to steal. Mikoshin would be amazed, since that was what Ryui was, the being which was not afraid of anything or anyone. Meanwhile, with the battle, Yamoshi, despite having unlimited power, was receiving such brutal blows, which were capable of ending the universe. However, Yamoshi's body was being torn to pieces. After a final exchange of blows, Yamoshi would fall to the ground out of combat. So, super king of everything. You should call yourself super trash of everything. You're not able to withstand 35% of all my power.
Mikoshin, upon hearing what Ryui said, would panic, but his astonishment would grow even more upon hearing the tranquility that Goku possessed. Goku at that moment, with a serious face, would head towards Yamoshi. However, Ryui at that moment would throw a large sphere of energy with the intention of finishing with both warriors. But the simple aura of Goku would make it disappear.
Don't worry, I'll save my master, and now I'll end your pathetic life.
At that moment, Goku had taken Yamoshi with Mikoshin and had teleported in front of Ryui, setting him flying with an incredible blow. That's right, the blow that he had given him had an amazing power. So much so that it would even make him spit large amounts of blood. At the moment that Ryui recovered from the blow, in this occasion, all the multiverses were destroyed by the power that both warriors were releasing. Meanwhile, inside the infernal dimension, Towa was training. By spending 2 or more years in that place, the complete essence of his master would be part of Towa.
Towa, you have been chosen as my successor, so I will always live in you. It is time to finish with those damned ones, but first control all my power.
Thank you very much, Master, for trusting me, and of course I will. At that moment, an amazing power would begin to enter Towa's body, which seemed to explode with so much energy. At that moment, Towa was not even able to move, so he would decide to meditate. Returning with the battle of both deities, outside only 30 minutes had passed, in which Ryui was astonished, since he had received so much more damage than his enemy. At that moment, Goku with a great blow would send him back to the ground.
Are you still using 35% of all your power? You better take this battle in stride, because I'm not going to hold back and end your pathetic life.
Ryui would stand up angry and say to himself,
Damn it, I'm already using 95% of my power, but my punches don't seem to hurt him at all. Are you gonna remain mute? I'm talking to you, you miserable worm.
Goku, without caring about his opponent, launched again himself at him, kicking him, hitting him with energy blasts, and he was not able to do anything to defend himself. After only 25 minutes more of battle, Ryui was in terrible conditions, unable to do anything against Kakarot, whose power, instead of decreasing, was increasing more and more at an amazing speed.
I don't know why my power's increasing, but you didn't even make me use 20% of all my power. You are and will be a failure.
Goku would stretch one of his hands, throwing a great attack against Ryui, turning him into simple dust in the universe. At the moment, Goku would approach towards everyone, noticing that Jiren had already awakened.
Seems that this is finally over. We have finished with the ambition of that wretch.
But at that moment that everyone was about to leave, a great portal would be created throughout the universe of Zeno-sama, and in this place, an incredible power would spread. So much was the power that even would make Mikoshin and Jiren fall to their knees. The ones who could resist the pressure were Goku and Yamoshi, but after a few minutes, Yamoshi would fall to his knees. At the moment, Towa had left the portal, leaving everyone surprised.
Towa, how's it possible that I have all this power? This must be a damn nightmare.
You're wrong, honey. It's not a nightmare. Now I've been able to overcome your power. Goku would take a step forward.
Towa, you've trained in order to take us down, but you overlooked something. I'm the most powerful Saiyan of all the multiverses and timelines.
Goku in that same instant would also begin to increase a great part of his power, being able to even make Towa retreat a little. The power that Goku was releasing would leave everyone surprised. At that moment, a great Ozari would appear all over the place, leaving everyone surprised, but all the power that would begin to enter Goku's body, which was filling with an abominable power. That's right, after a great explosion, Goku had reached the power of omnipotence temporarily. Towa was surprised since the Grand Master had granted him omnipotence and was able to feel the key of that dimension. How is a mere mortal able to reach the omnipotent level?
You'd be surprised to see what I'm capable of doing.
Goku and Towa at that moment disappeared, giving start to the final battle between good and evil. The blows that both of them gave each other were on another level. That's right, both of them were neglecting defense, giving blows with all their power. After an exchange of blows, both of them would take distance. Towa at that moment would say to herself, The power of that Saiyan's amazing, but I'm sure that his power's temporary. I just have to endure and then finish with all these bastards once and for all. What Towa didn't know was Goku's omnipotent power was merging with every time with Goku. And in the same way, he was able to have that majestic power activated for approximately 48 hours. Goku at that moment again had launched himself against Towa, giving some excellent blows.
I'm not going to lose. I know that with this technique I'll die, but I'll go quietly that you will not be part of nothingness.
What the hell are you saying?
Receive my last technique. Killer hands of the omnipresent God.
At that moment, a gigantic being had appeared in front of everyone, a being to massacre a part of Towa. However, not only part of her was damaged physically, since with each blow, he snatched a large part of the omnipotence, and Towa was not able to do anything to free herself from the stealthy attack.
And number 100 dies!
At the number of 100th attack would completely connect with Towa, eliminating him completely. However, Goku would still fall all over the universe. Mikosha would quickly take him in his arms.
I've won. I've done it for you. Please, rebuild the entire multiverse of Zeno-sama and inform him that I forgive him. No, Goku! Damn it, you'll not die!
Mikosha at that moment with a great mental power would gather all the Super Dragon Balls appearing Zalma.
Tell me, what is your wish?
I wish that you cure the Saiyan.
I'm sorry, that power exceeds my power, since it's an omnipotent rank. Tell me another wish.
Mikosha, don't worry. I have to bring my friend Zen back to life.
Mikosha would fulfill Goku's request, appearing all the divine beings, and the moment Zeno-sama observed Goku in that condition, tears would be shed.
My friend, I'm so sorry. This is my fault. Don't worry, my friend. Promise me that you'll train and nothing, and no one will be able to destroy our multiverse again.
We promise, Mr. Goku. Thank you so much for everything.
At that moment, Goku's whole body was enveloped in a great golden light and would disappear. Jiren would not believe it.
Son Goku, I can't believe you died. I promised to find a way to bring you back to life.
Goku's death had been a great blow to the entire divine world, and in all the universes, they had formed a great statue in honor of their savior. Well guys, this is all for today's chapter. I hope you liked it and it was to your liking. Now don't forget to leave your powerful like Supreme God level, comment and subscribe. Now without further ado, see you in a new video. Until next time.
Try good.